Good afternoon. Welcome to the December 2022 Fireside Chat about Microsoft Power Platform Governance and Control, presented by my colleague Richard Ojo and myself, William Nelson.
Hello, good afternoon. How are you today, William?
Very good. Thanks, Richard. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right. Thanks for asking. So we're on this new and this next kind of fireside chat on cost and governance surrounding the Power Platform.
Mm,
With the way the economy is and with some of our clients, one thing we've realized or we've come to see in the last few weeks or months is that they're looking for ways to cut costs, manage the governance. So we're focusing today maybe more on the Power Platform side of things, right?
mm. Yeah.
Um, so from your point of view, William, what are the challenges
mm.
you found surrounding Power Platform governance and control?
Yeah. So definitely there are some known sort of limitations on being able to effectively and comprehensively sort of administer and govern Power Platform services. It's the new citizen developer platform made available by Microsoft, it seems to all, um, but it is contained across a whole different number of admin centers within the Microsoft 365 platform. So, for example, Power Platform itself has got Power BI, Dynamics, Microsoft 365. They're all interlinked under the Power Platform, but with a number of different admin centers. So there's also a whole different way of purchasing the products, the same products, but in different ways. So the ability to keep a good insight and control over how it's been purchased, what's being purchased, and the sort of metrics that calculate that consumption. Um, so it can be done through, for example, monthly invoiceable subscriptions. An admin can assign and allocate licenses through the Microsoft 365 motion, um, and these through the end user subscription charging model in the same way that a Microsoft 365 subscription would be. But then again, they can also be purchased through Azure on a wholly different billing platform as a pay-as-you-go model. So it's getting that balance and understanding what's being used, where it's being used, and how it's being paid for, and has that really been fully sort of signed off with a business case and onboarding, offboarding processes. So it can be very difficult to manage, and therefore the governance and controls are also fairly complex. But on the flip side, it's not all bad news. I think there's some positive news coming out there, isn't there, Richard?
Yeah, there is. I mean, so at least we're aware that with the next release wave of Platform to provide admins with tools to better manage um, business units, teams, and users, and enable less complex managing and updating of security roles through a single admin portal. Right, so this will allow whoever is administering that portal to manage roles and responsibilities and who has access to what. And this will be classified as a new managed environment feature for streamlined IT administration of environments. So I
Yeah.
guess that kind of covers us on the governance piece. And
Mm,
maybe you and I were talking a little bit earlier
mm,
about some of the things to also put into perspective is
mm,
the gateway into Power Platform
mm.
use is probably through your existing Office 365 or M365 licenses. So
Yeah.
it's important to have an idea of what functionalities you can get already as part of those licenses and subscriptions, and know what you need. If you need more or of more functionalities or less, if what you have access to based on your existing licensing is sufficient for your needs. So that is important as well, keeping an eye on what is already there,
Yeah.
and not just jumping in and buying something new, if
Yeah.
you understand what I mean.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so one thing we touched on here is this new managed
Mm,
environment functionality. What are your thoughts on this? What do
yeah.
you know about it? What can you share with our customers?
Yeah, so it's the promised land almost that
Mm,
so this admin center consolidation piece, bringing in all the different admin centers that delve into the Power Platform one way or another, um, So all these legacy sort of portals that administrators may have to visit at the moment to be able to govern the same single piece of um, business process are being brought into a single Power Platform admin center that will unify all these settings that are relevant to the Power Platform products, with the caveat of Power BI will still sit outside of this, but it's a step in the right direction. And it's going to allow the administrators to set up essentially sort of business units, teams, departments. So it's going to be easier to have owners of services that are being consumed, and therefore the governance over the things like the onboarding and offboarding will be hopefully more straightforward because it's a single pane of glass to look at, and things like the security role editor, which is I think going to be a key one as well. So it's going to be a simplified user interface where they can administrators can manage those security roles and privileges, enabling sort of changes to be made and implemented in a, what they're saying is going to be a more intuitive way, but I think just a more practical and known, more widely known way of managing those security roles, rather than through lots of different admin centers. And then I suppose the final sort of expectation of the new admin center will be the ability of the premium IT admin capabilities. So like I was saying, the onboarding of owner administrators, environment services, whilst providing an easier means of controlling the distribution of apps within the platform. So I think it's easy to onboard people into new services, allow them to consume, but it's that managing and controlling them throughout that process, and then making sure that once a service is no longer required or has been migrated into production, then shutting down sort of areas which either are going to cause governance issues with data, or controlling the costs of those sort of previous environments. So it's just definitely a step in the right direction, and hopefully, I think, Richard, there may actually be some good news on the whole governance and control of the Power Platform.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, based on what you've just described, this seems like a one-stop shop for everything, right?
Yeah,
And with good governance comes great control as well. So hopefully, with this new portal, with this new functionality, that our customers are able to manage users and permissions and security roles much easier, right?
yeah,
But as always, the key to good governance and control is number one, as we've discussed earlier, know what you have already, right?
yeah,
Know what you need, understand the difference between different permissions and different functionalities and who needs what. And obviously, the second is who has access to those functionalities, who has access to the product you're purchasing. Is it a frivolous request? You know, my colleague has it, I want it, so you have to
yeah,
keep an eye on that. And then how do you manage it, and at
mm,
what cost are you managing it? So it's important to keep an eye on all these different functions, right? Then by
yeah,
defining processes, you are able to deliver desired outcomes, right? Request processes, just to evaluate needs and things like that,
mm,
right? So if you
yeah,
define your processes to deliver the desired outcomes within the constraints of the technology available,
yeah,
and ensuring any fit gap is included, then your governance and control becomes an operational function that can be managed, administered, rather than you trying to play catch up, right?
yeah,
And this is what we find with a lot of our customers.
mm,
It's always retrospective rather than
yeah,
proactive, right? So
mm,
with this new portal, hopefully they're able to manage their existing use, cut back where they need to, but it is always important to have processes in place, to have procedures in place, and to have existing good governance and control in place as well.
definitely, yeah,
So I guess there's stuff coming there from
yeah,
Microsoft to help our customers, but there's also that responsibility that lies with them as well, you'd say,
yeah,
right?
yeah, no, absolutely. So yeah, with the new wave of the admin center, then hopefully things will get less complex. But
Mm,
obviously, I think it will take time for customers to learn and understand what that what it gives and what it doesn't give, and
Mm.
that's where definitely version 1 and the sound team can help customers in planning and, like you say, proactively rather than retrospectively.
Absolutely.
Maintaining
Developing, at
servers.
least helping our customers to know what they currently have, what they
Yeah,
need, roles and definitions around that.
yeah.
And definitely, if you need any assistance with any of this, please do not hesitate to reach out to us at version 1. Thank you so much
Mm.
today for helping me go through that, William.
Yep, no worries. Yep, always
All
good
right.
to talk.